At age 69, I went on my first cruise. Will it also be my last? First, an apology. I had cameras and fully intended to return with abundant footage. I did not follow through. So, for much of this video, you're looking at my face. So it goes. The cruise was a week-long trip in the Caribbean aboard the Carnival Mardi Gras. I was with my wife, for whom this was her 9th cruise. We were the guests of my wife's sister and her husband. For the sister, this was like her 80th cruise. I let my wife and her sister make all the arrangements. They're fully competent to do so, and I was too ignorant of what a cruise entails to cite my preferences. Besides that, I was slammed with client work. This was a year for the giant ConExpo construction trade show in Las Vegas, and I was neck deep in projects. Another thing I did was to tell very few persons I was going on a cruise. The way those conversations go, the hearer asks if you've been before, and, discovering you have not, wants to share their cruise lore, whether from their own experience or from something more abstract, like the mother of a woman they used to work with who went on a cruise in Italy in the 70s. I did not want my expectations to be preloaded with the impressions offered by others. I wanted to experience it firsthand for myself and form my own impressions. And what were those impressions? First, the food. It's common knowledge that cruise food is the best ever. Yes, it was very good. Were they the best meals I've ever had? No, but they were among the best, and consistently so. I had no bad food on board. Portions were smallish by American standards, which was good. If you're going to eat 6 meals a day, which you easily can on a cruise ship, and which many guests apparently did, it's better that those 6 meals be 2,000 calories apiece than 4,000 calories apiece. That's still too much food, and I gained 4 pounds in a week, eating 3 meals a day, plus healthy snacks. Those snacks were as appealing as the meals. Lots of fruits and melons and veggies. Not great variety, but it was fresh and ripe and tasty. I indulged in pastries periodically. They were also of reasonable portion size, not the monster muffins mainland coffee shops want to foist on customers. The snacks, at least, were available most of the time, which refutes what I'd heard that food was always available. If you can't sleep at 2 a.m., you can go get a meal. Not true. I also found it odd that they charged for soft drinks. I'm sure it's a cost control measure and fully warranted. Next, the entertainment. There's something going on somewhere most of the time. Lots of music, full troupe stage shows and solo performers, stand-up comics. In general, the lighting and sound were very good, but the choreography was weak. Honestly, I wouldn't pay a cover to see any of these acts. But you're not supposed to be wowed by the quality of the performances. This isn't Broadway, and you're not watching the Phantom of the Opera or Cats. The selling point is that they are okay performances in abundance. All you have to do is walk around, find something you like, even if just a bit, sit down, enjoy, then get up and repeat the process. I checked out a few shows, but also found other things to do. There was a good fitness center, and I got in there pretty much every day to lift weights or ride the stationary bike. There was a ropes course that was surprisingly challenging. There was also a roller coaster. The cool thing about the coaster was that although it went plenty fast on its own, it also had a twist grip on the right, so you could speed up, plus a boost button that provided max speed for one 15-second blast during your 2-lap ride. Neither the ropes course nor the coaster would be worth a visit on land. Too short. But this ain't Cedar Point. Yes, the roller coaster ride is short, but it's raucous. You have a throttle, and you're doing it at sea. There were plenty of places to get into some water, pools, a mini water park. I didn't for 2 reasons. First, the weather was a bit cool and occasionally rainy. Second, in good weather, the pools were packed and I wasn't keen on trying to shoehorn my way into the water between the mountains of flesh at the edges of the pools. I think most of those enjoying the pools were unconsciously reveling in Archimedes' principle that the siren song of buoyancy proved irresistible. I'm grateful I had that opportunity, but I didn't need to join them. And the penultimate point, the shopping. Note that a big appeal of cruising is the ability to buy overpriced goods in a way that makes it seem like a bargain. There's the well-known duty-free shop. Not sure how that works since you are required to declare the things you've bought when you get off the ship at the end of the cruise. Maybe it's a scam. Maybe it's a legitimate money-saving strategy. I don't know and I don't care. None of the shops had anything I was interested in. It's not their fault. I'm not interested in much. I've accrued plenty over the years and have little need for more. And while I'm sure some passengers saved 30% on trophy watches, I saved 100% by not buying any. Shopping was amplified in the ports of call. The many shops on the ship were closed while we were in port to support sales at local merchants. Our first stop was Nassau, Bahamas. I walked past the tourist shops, spent a little time at the waterfront, and used the restroom at Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. That was disappointing. Jimmy, why are your restrooms so mundane? I could see that, for me, the appealing part of town started across the street, but the traffic was constant. Other pedestrians crossed safely. Could I? Turns out the local drivers will lock up their brakes to let pedestrians cross the road. It was quite remarkable. Once I got to the other time, I had a great time looking around. I spent half an hour talking to a government employee at the Ministry of Tourism. He had been a guard at the landfill, which reveals something about the economy, if you have to guard your garbage. And yes, landfill scavengers are common in some areas of the U.S., but not to the extent that they are in some other parts of the world. Yet. Anyway, this employee was now parking cars. Seemed like a step down, even from guarding garbage, but he didn't care. He was a great guy, and I'd go back to the Bahamas just to talk to more locals if they're anything like him, and I suspect most are. Second stop was Amber Cove in the Dominican Republic. My understanding that no locals were allowed into the compound other than those employed there. So pretty much zero chance to strike up a conversation with a native. Lots of shops. In one, I splurged and bought a coffee cup. There was a cool bar under an old radio telescope antenna at the top of a long flight of steps. The bar held no appeal for me, but the view from up there was nice. Also atop the hill was a zip line. $28 for all day. That seemed reasonable, except that it was a short zip line. I figured maybe 8 or 10 seconds to descend, then have to trudge back up the steps to ride again. They might have offered a shuttle. I saw no mention of it on the sign, and I didn't bother to ask. The third and final stop was Grand Turk. I didn't qualify to get off there, which is another story that I may circle back to in another video. It didn't seem that appealing anyway from what I could see from shipboard. There was one more thing, and it was a bigger factor than any of those I've mentioned. It was the thing that would have kept me from even going on another cruise, and it still may. I'll explain after a brief word from our sponsor, which happens to be me. Are you and your organization getting the recognition you deserve? Do you have the information you need for effective decision making? I provide writing, research, photography, and videography services to commercial enterprises, DMOs, trade associations, and other market-oriented enterprises, and I've been doing so since 1985. To find out how I can help you be better at what you do, send me an email at richreesemedia@gmail.com. That's richreesemedia@gmail.com. I look forward to working with you. I was not ready for the culture shock of being on a cruise ship. It was so profound that it triggered nightmares, two of which were quite troubling. One occurred when I fell asleep on a chaise longue on the deck the first day aboard ship. The other came 3 or 4 days after we got home. Is the discomfort I experienced an indictment of the cultural milieu of a cruise ship, or of me as a passenger on a cruise ship? I'd say some of both, but mostly the latter. By the time of this cruise, I had spent nearly a quarter century removing all influences from my social landscape, and then carefully rebuilding that landscape. The objective was to have greater control over my thinking. The careful curating of my cognitive self provided benefits beyond what I had hoped. But a less appealing consequence also emerged. I lost some of my social fluidity. Back in my sales days, I could be cordial to anyone when there was a commission to be had. That skill was gone, and I was at a loss without it amid more than 5,000 persons who were very much unlike me in fundamental ways. By the way, if there's sufficient interest in my cognitive restructuring and how the consequences of that effort made my time on the cruise so difficult, I'll do a video, maybe more than one. Let me know in the comments if you'd like more information. At first I was sure I would never do another cruise, but I thought it through. I realized the cruise had several fun elements, despite the social grading, and even the social component wasn't all bad. We developed some good relationships with members of the staff, one in particular. And situations like these can only shock you the first time. After that, you know what's coming, and if you have cognitive resources, you can arrive with a plan that will make the situation not merely bearable, but actually quite pleasant. So there's my summary. Yes, I enjoyed this cruise. Yes, I'd do another. And yes, I'd come with a frame of mind and some planning to ensure my next cruise would be even better than my first. I'm Rich Reese, and I'll see you out there. My thanks to those supporting my efforts. You can do so on a monthly basis through Patreon or with a one-time contribution through PayPal. Links are in the description. The toilets on cruise ships don't mess around. Check this out. That's some power.